Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fremantle Sailing Club. My name is Johno Wroth. I'm the captain of the game fishing section here. A few of you might know me from the Blue Marlin Classic. Most of you guys are probably Perth game and a few other clubs here tonight. So thank you very much for making the effort. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for being sardines for tonight. We do have a fair bit to go through, but it's a pretty exciting night, I think, for the game fishing scene in Western Australia. This is the first metro, and when we say metro, it's really Cape Naturalist to Jurien Bay. Swordfish comp that's been held. EGFC had one a few years back that started and stopped and didn't continue.
Swords, yeah.
Search for swords,
That started the whole WA sword search. Yeah.
So we've got a lot to go through tonight. I'm going to do an intro. We're going to thank some sponsors. Then after that, we're going to throw to, there's going to be three speakers. Scotty's going to go through the rules. Anthony's going to go through a masterclass, which will be followed by from the commander to the apprentice, which is the most recent swordfish skipper in the West Coast at the moment, I think, Jono Masel. He'll talk a bit about safety, and then we're going to throw to Matt over here. If you haven't seen Matt and his wares, they're behind him there. There's some skeletals of small swords as well as a 80-kilo big eye. Through the night, we can take questions. Funny questions or good questions, there'll be prizes. So make sure, John O'Reilly, you're probably going to be first in. Look, these events can't happen without a lot of effort from the committee. We've got two committees here that are collabing on this one, and it's really good to see Perth Game Fishing and Fremantle Sailing Club game section working together. And hopefully in the future we're going to do more of it as well. But most importantly, these comps don't occur without a lot of sponsorship. Sponsorship for this particular comp, you can see on the bottom banner over here, which was produced in the last 48 hours just for this. I just want to lead with probably one of the most unique products that we've seen lately. Bit of a plug. There's some young guns in here, WA owned, WA designed, niche outdoors. They're doing fuel bladders. I don't know if any of you guys have delivered boats or run fuel bladders, but they're always a pain in the arse. They always leak and they're hard to work. These ones are custom made. This is 150 litres. They fit in your kill tank. They can custom make them to fit in your anchor well, below the floor, wherever you want it to go. So this one's one of the prizes. I know what you're thinking. It's $1,000. No, it's not 1,000. It's not 500. This one's I think about 300 or maybe a little bit less. So this one's up for grabs in the comp. Make sure you hit the boys up from Niche Outdoors. They're there on the sponsors logo. Look, other sponsors. We've got some big hits in here. There's Formstruck, Anthony Pecotic. We all know Anthony from Send and Bend. You can't really say grandfather of the local fishing scene, but he's certainly one of the masters now. HMG, Mechanical, where's Tommy? Sorry. Oh, there you are. Put your hand up. And a lot of the people that are sponsoring this comp are people that are avid fishers, mostly Perth game fishing as well. We've got Diamond Networks. If you haven't heard of Diamond Networks, if you're into deep dropping, you probably know all about Diamond Networks. These guys are in Myree. They do a lot of pro gear, so you go there for your circles and your lights. There's a whole lot of lights that will be given away as part of your grab bags, such as these. Anthony's favourite colours, blue and white. King Road Brewery. I'm not sure if they're represented here, but they're long-term supporters of PGFC. Wreckfish West have donated $2,000 for this competition. West Coast Fishing, Luke DeGara, doesn't need much of a spiel. Everyone knows Luke. Where are you, Luke? Put your hand up. There you are. Yeah, great merch and awesome photography. Complete Angler, not sure if Brian or others are here tonight. If you need any tackle, go there. You probably heard AFW are closing, so there's only one other place to go, and that's Complete Angler. Reliance Capital. If you need a loan for a land development, come see Jono Masel. So yeah, Jono Masel's put his hand in his pocket, and he's pretty keen to probably win his own money if he wins this comp. European Small Goods, and Del Basio Small Goods. Richard or yep, Rick. And we've got a meat raffle from Rick that's on tonight. So tickets can be bought by Matt up the back. Matt's got his hand up right now. There you are. What have we got? King Road. Say again?
Diamond Networks.
Yeah, done. Diamond Networks. That's probably it. Sorry. Oh, Johno Property Group. That's me. If you want to subdivide land, give me a call. Or you know someone that's got a land parcel that needs subdividing. Meridian Tackle. Where are they? There they are. PK. PK Boat Services. Yeah. Stalwarts of the fishing scene and looking after your boats as well. I think that's all covered. Current line lures aren't on there. Tommy Miller's not here, unfortunately, because he's probably away or down south. Current line will be on the next banner. These banners will be all about around tackle shops and in front of marinas, this club, Complete Angler, etc. So we're promoting it. Weird comp, 3 months long. You can register. If you don't register tonight, which we want you to do, you can register throughout the 3 months. If you've got other crew that want to fish, get online and register. The other boys will go through it. That's probably enough for me. We've also got Richie Abela, who's going to be fighting in tonight, and he's probably the Australian master of daytime sword fishing. So over to Scotty Turrell to talk about the rules and regs.
Thanks, Jono. Yeah, people don't know me. My name is Scott Turrell. I've been Weighmaster Perth Game Fishing Club the last 3 years and spent most of my life game fishing, mostly light tackle. And like most of us, haven't really done a lot of sword fishing. Given a few cracks, but haven't cracked it yet, I suppose. And I'm really just here to run through the rules quick because every comp we have, which is WACFA sanctioned or even a private comp, like for Perth Game Fishing Club, Freo Sailing Club, probably the same problems. We have great fish disqualified. The difference between bottom fishing and game fishing through the clubs is the rules, right? So unfortunately, it's all about the rules and following the rules properly. These days, it's really easy to follow the rules because it's everywhere. You know? So there has been a form going around with a QR code on there. I'm not sure the guys at the back got it yet, but that's got direct link to the GFAA app, and that goes through all the angling rules, all the tackle rules, all the records, a whole lot. So if you haven't got it, 110%, download it, read it, and go through it. Also, GFAA hand out a journal each year. So if you're a member of a WACFA affiliated club, make sure that you tick the box because your club should be asking if you want that journal to be sent to you. And if you don't tick the box, you won't get it. It is a really handy piece of equipment, especially when you're out wide and you've got no signal when you're trying to get information. All right, so number one, download the GFAA rules off the app. Next one is a general rule. So over this last season, there's been a really good metro season for billfish, and I would say close to 50% of all fish caught inside the comps have been disqualified, which is crazy. 50%, it's a huge number, mostly because of leaders being too long, or there's been people helping anglers fight the fish, right? So the way I look at it real simple, your leader length, right, 9 metres, right? 9 metres of heavy leader from your hook to your wind on or swivel, right, depending on your fishing. And then with your double can just be short, yeah? 1 metre, 1.5, this long, right? It doesn't have to be long. You don't need your double to do what you need to do. So 9 metres overall and a short double, you can't go wrong. It's simple, right? When you go fishing on a mate's boat, right, you get the gear out, have a tape measure in your bag, measure your leader, right? Before any of the rod goes in the water, you measure your leader. And you have 9 metres, right? And it's that easy, right? You really shouldn't be getting over leaders. If you've got a tape measure on board, measure it. The next biggest one is like the angling rules. You can't help an angler, right? Rod goes off, you pick up that rod, that's it. You know, if Jono's here and he's struggling, right, he's going to fall over, you want to help him to stand up straight, cool, that's it, help him. You can't hold the harness. Right? You can't hold the harness, you can't support him, you can't do anything to help him catch that fish whatsoever. 0. Touching the rod or drag, you can't do that either. Right? So if you're winding up on a sword out the rod holder, the line starts, you feel a fish on there, you wind up on it, goes tight, you have to pull that rod out of the rod holder straight away. You can't fight the fish in the rod holder at all. Zero. None. You can't say, oh, we're tight, Jono, grab the rod, disqualified. Boom, done, finish. Fish of a lifetime, disqualified, right? No points, no nothing, no glory, right? So it's really, really important you follow that stuff. And again, leaving the rod holder too long, common with marlin fishing, rods go off, you've got 5 rods out, 2 guys on board. The rod that gets touched first is the rod that's going off. It's got the fish on it. Not the teasers, not the other rods, not anything else. It's the rod that goes off first, picked up straight away. Same thing applies to the sword fishing. You're winding up on that fish, goes tight, you can't let that rod go and put your harness on and come back to it, right? Disqualified. You have to pick that rod up and start fighting the fish straight away. All right, that all pretty clear?
Can somebody else put the harness on for you, obviously, when you're fighting fish?
100%, right? It's probably the only thing that, you know, they can feed you water, they can put your harness on you, but they can't touch the rod at all on the way through.
So, just on this, obviously, for anyone that has watched a bit of YouTube on sports fishing.
Coming up to that one, yeah, got that.
Right,
Yeah.
I'll let you go with that. 90%
Thanks, Tommy.
of what you see on YouTube is not legal.
Next one is bad habits, often from YouTube, all right? So YouTube fishing, I call it. Right, 90% of what you see on YouTube isn't game fishing, right? They're catching game fish, but they're not doing it to the rules, all right? So again, I saw a good one the other day with Watson and NZ. You know, he's winding up for that guy from America, hooking up. Here you go, mate. And they're having a chat and winding up in the gunnel. Can't do it. Disqualified straight away, all over. Pretty much most stuff I've seen on YouTube is all DQ'd straight away, right?
On that, like, one thing you've seen on YouTube is people umming and ahhing of whether they got a bite or not, and they're playing it out back and forth, and they're winding it in the hole. So if you think you got a bite, you got it right.
Yeah, so it's a tricky one, you know, and Tex and I went right through it, trying to settle the grey areas, because a lot of the rules are open to interpretation, right? So you look at a rule and you go, oh, I'm going to look at it this way because the rules aren't clear. You should be looking at the way that's going to be most disadvantage to you, I suppose, is the easiest way of looking at it. So don't look at the clarification as what's easy for you, look at it for what's right for the fish, that gives the fish an equal chance of you catching it, all right? So winding up on a fish, you can do that. As soon as you think you're tight, take the rod out of the rod holder. That's the rule, right? As soon as you think you're tight, you got to take the rod out of the rod holder. You can't play it, etc., back the drag off, back on again, etc. You're really going to pull the rod out of the rod holder and go through that process. And I'm sure, you know, I've been sword fishing and winding up on it. It's not easy to get it out of that rod holder and keep winding, etc. But you wind up on that fish, Pex, keep winding. Rod loads over. As soon as line comes off that reel, 100% out the rod holder straight away. And you can't adjust as Tom said, you can't adjust the drag in the rod holder. You can wind, and that's as far as it goes. We'll probably touch on this a bit later as well, but also if you've got an electric reel and you're winding up with that, you know, new drift, winding up, and fish hits it, DQ'd. All right, if you've got an electric reel or anything attached to that reel or combo, and you get a hit, DQ'd. Right, self-disqualification. Right, pick the rod up, catch a fish, won't count. Right.
Sorry?
If you electric reel, got an electric reel there, Tom?
So not an electric reel, you got an attachment.
Sorry, my bad. Electric reel was in electric, winding it in, my bad. Right, and you're winding it off that, bring it up, because bring it up from 600 metres sucks, right, and you get a hit, loads up, and that's attached to your reel, makes it electric reel, DQ'd. Yep. And yeah, it's one of those things which no doubt is going to happen, and it sucks. But if you're on a hot bite, you've already got 2 swords, maybe manual wind it on the way up. So you can't, if you've got an electric reel and it's an electric reel, no, you can't use it. Right. A Beastmaster electric? No, you know, so it's a yeah, we're not going to be using that for saws. If it's an electric reel, you can't use it. If you've got a Talika 50, it's a Talika 50, you bang that drill on there, it's an electric reel. Right?
The stipulation, Scotty, I guess, is IGFA in Florida. They use the electric reel as a downrigger to release clips.
Hey, boys.
Guys, so the only stipulation of that is there's IGFA have a video on it where in some instances in the US they use the electric reels as a downrigger, and then they have a release clip, and then you have an IGFA outfit like the ones here that is then attached to the release clip, and then you're using the downrigger or the electric reel to get your weight down to the depth, and then you get the breakaway, the same as downrigging, which is fully IGFA compliant, but yeah, you absolutely cannot actually be direct one-on-one fighting with an electric
So
reel.
is that PGFC
No,
compliant?
this is IGFA.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So technically, the way of looking at that is you've got electric reel, big Beastmaster, you send a big weight down and you've got your bait hanging off that on a breakaway system, that's fine. You can do that if you want to do that.
I need double clarification on something because Richie's got one question.
Oh yes, Richie, how you going?
How are you, mate?
Good, mate.
If a person is using a drill, okay, as a retrieval apparatus, as you demonstrated, gets the bite but doesn't get the hookup, that should not be disqualified. A fish is only disqualified when there is load on the rod.
Yeah. So if you're I agree with that. So you're winding up and you get a hit and it doesn't hook up. You take the reel off and you keep winding as you're coming up and it jumps on again. Fine. But if you're on the electric reel or electric drill and it hooks up as you're bringing it up and it stays connected, it's DQ'd.
You got that information.
Yeah, from Barbascus. Yeah. So it's maybe the first, maybe when you bring your gear in, maybe Richie, your first.
Guys, come on.
Your first 200 winds, maybe do it manual. Bring it up from the thermocline, and then jump on your drill after that. Could be a good way of doing it,
Does the attachment work with D-bolt and Peter? And does anyone have any? Sorry.
Yeah, so Johno mentioned that, Richie, and I emailed Barbascus last night, today, and he got back to us on that one. Yeah.
It's only deemed disqualified if the fish actually hooks up and there is load.
Yeah.
If there's an actual bite and it's not hooked up, it doesn't qualify.
Yeah, and I suppose, this is where you have to look at it yourself. You're winding up electric reel and you get it loads up and doesn't stay loaded, well, then it's up to you to make that call, But again, you're trying to do the right thing by the ethics of game fishing. You take it off going flat out and the rod comes off the load and then you wind on and it's still hooked up. Well, one would assume it was probably hooked up. The reason the rod's straightened out is a line stretch and the fish is still there. You have to make that call, But it's all about the ethics of game fishing in these events. Does that sound fair, Richie? Cool.
I'm just talking about a whack. Sometimes they'll just give you a whack.
Yeah.
And chase your debate up,
Yeah, again, so you get a whack, and you go, fuck, was that a bill or a sword? Then you'll just stop and jump on take it off and jump on the handle, And if it loads up and stays loaded, well then, it's unlucky, it's all over, All right, next one is, again, Pex and Jono will cover this a little bit, is line cards, right? So depending on the scenario, when you catch a 200 kilo sword and you want to self-weigh it, right, with certified scales, it is covered in the briefing notes a bit, and again, Pex will cover it a bit more, and you have to send the gear in to me, you have to put it on a line card of some sort, right? The only thing I want to say here is, again, you follow the briefing notes, is make sure your leader is separate to your line, right? Because if you put your leader on, then you put 30 metres of line on top. It's a pain in the ass for me, right? And it's just not the way it's done. So on the line cards, it says how to do it, right? So you really can't go wrong. Fill the line card out, send it up, and I can check all the gear if you can't get it done by the weighmaster at that time, right? Line cards. So heavy bit of cardboard, not a Coke bottle, not a Pringles can, not beer can. I've done a little before, and it's just not the right thing to do for the weighmaster. So line cards, important. Next one on my list is, so the gear checking, again, Pex will go through that. Weighing of fish, witnessing, needs to be witnessed. Again, it's a little bit weird. We've got a 3-month comp. Normally you fish your comp and you'll get it weighed straight away. This is a bit weird, a bit different. So that's why I really put my mobile number on there, and it's kicking around as well. Welcome to save it. You've got a weird question, give us a ring. Also, making sure your fish is edible, right? So it is a big thing with WAGFA and all affiliated clubs. If you get a nice fish, a nice yellowfin tuna, right, on 15 kilo or greater, make sure it's looked after. If it comes to the gantry and it's warm and it's been sitting on the deck for 30 hours, then it's DQ'd again, right? So be really wary of that. You've got to keep the stuff cold so we can eat it. Any questions?
If you've got a 120 kilo marlin and it's obviously dead, and like you're trying to keep it, ice cubes on top, keep it well maintained the next day, and it's like looking pretty buckled.
All right, so it's the way you do it, right? So what we've done with John's fish is you just get a tarp, right? You can buy a tarp from Bunnings for $20. Yep. Slide the tarp underneath the fish, get 10 bags of ice, break it all up, lay it around the fish, fold the tarp over, 4 wet towels. It will stay good for 24 hours easy.
Rule on 10 gun, 6 degrees
Nah.
like other comps?
Nah.
Could you just head straight in with it, obviously, and just get
Yeah.
it away?
Yeah, again, it's covered in the briefing notes. If you've got a big fish to weigh, make sure you call your weighmaster, weigh it so we don't want to rock up the boat around and say, hey, I've got this fish to weigh and no one's prepped,
Sometimes it's a specified time, like 4:30 in the arvo, and you've caught it at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh, we've got to maintain this fish for 8 hours.
It's 3 months and you've got 48 hours to get it weighed.
Okay, copy. Sorry.
All right? If you've got a 200 kilo fish and you're trying to get it weighed, it's not easy. Like John's one had to wait the next day. It's an expectation to try and get these fish weighed. We haven't got a dedicated gantry north or south, so you have to speak to your weighmasters and get a feel. 307 Club's awesome. Johno will be able to help out with that. Gantry, piss, awesome. Yeah, just rock up. Yeah. Who's eating the swordfish? Locally caught. Mate, it is good. It is really good. Really, really, really good. So anyone who's got a deep dropping, in the demersal ban, get out there, give it a crack because it eats any bottom fish, I reckon. Yeah, flat out.
Absolutely do not waste it.
Do not waste it. Last fish we got, we cut the backbone out. I'll put the backbone in the smoker. This can't be that good. Oh my God, the backbone. Every single bit of that fish that we got, apart from, tail and stuff, was mint. And 120 kilo fish, we reckon we got about probably 18 kilos of offal. So 100 kilos of quality edible fish off that. So sustainability, 100%. You get a big cod, 20 kilo cod, you might have 8 kilos of fillets, if you're lucky. So it's just very sustainable, so don't feel bad, in my opinion, about weighing them, especially if you're sharing it around.
Sorry, I had one last question. The 48-hour mark, so we've got to maintain it for 48 hours minimum to...
So again, if
it extends out, we've got to be able to maintain it for 48 hours to get it weighed.
you've got 48 hours. So my recommendation is, right, if I'm going to go fishing off Mandurah, and my expectation is to catch a swordfish, right? Yeah. I'm going to speak to the guy I know at the Mandurah jetties and get the forklift. Say, hey man, I'm going to go sword fishing. There's a good chance I'm going to catch one. Where you're at, and just make ask the questions. If you want to go out, you've got no contacts, make a phone call to me. Say, hey mate, this is what I'm planning on doing.
Richie's not going to have long, so if we can
Yep.
now. And then
That's me. So any questions?
Yeah, so sorry, quickly, if someone's fishing out of durian on naturalist and we have contacts with certified scales in those areas for them if they are able to organise the forklift and everything to do the lift.
So sorry, Tom, say it again.
So if someone catches a sword off durian tomorrow, we've got certified scales up there.
It comes down to the club, So it's a sanctioned tournament from Durian Bay down to Naturalist, pretty much. So you got to speak to your club. If you're up in Durian Bay and you get a fish you want to weigh and you haven't organised it, so a certified scale, you have to bring it down to Perth or work something out. That's.
just with the question, maybe for Holmes.
Yep. So I was going to say, Richie's going to jump on. We're just going to move the itinerary around a little bit and hand over to Richie because it's quite late over there as well, and he's a busy man. So all to you, Richie.
Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Pecotic, Send and Bend. We've got Richie Abela dialing in from over east, the man that knows everything about swordfish, can catch them in a day in Australia. So here he is.
How are we, gentlemen? Are you gentlemen, I suspect? If I look tired, it's probably because I am. And I've been fishing all day. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So, no, well done. All. We got another sword comp. We had one here. They got knocked on the head, so we were running one at Lakes Entrance there for a while, and a few feuds between the clubs and stuff like that, and they knocked that on the head. I don't know when that's going to start, but it's great that you guys are getting one up and running. It looks like we've got a good turnout there. So I understand is the comp a 3-month comp?
Yes.
3 months. So that's a really good period to turn over a couple of fish, and I strongly suspect that there's some good fish there. I mean, I remember doing the talk at the Perth Game Fishing Club, nearly 8 years ago now, I think it was, and we looked at some of the country you guys have got in your part of the world, and you've got some serious country, especially with that Rottnest Trench, which was always going to be my go-to place when I looked at it. So I think there's some exciting prospects, and it's been nice to see some of the fish already getting targeted and caught. There's been some good ones, especially that recent one that Johno caught. Thank God he's still with us and didn't die on the way back trying to catch another one. Yeah, so I guess I'm away fishing just in case the boys haven't enlightened everybody. We've come chasing some barrel tuna here in Victoria while the weather sort of isn't that great for swordfish right now. From a swordfish point of view, those of you who have done it before might have a bit of an idea about what is required, but one of the things when it comes to swordfish is keeping them on a hook is not always the easiest thing to do. Getting the bite is only part of the journey. Once you've got one on, you're still 2/3 of the way away from landing that fish, and they got quite soft mouths. You can't go too hard on them. If you go too hard on them, you risk tearing hooks out. I mean, probably one of the best bit of advice I can give you. A lot of people go super hard on them. Look, you never know how they're hooked. I'd say 90% of my swords would come to the surface fairly soon after a hookup. It's a really good telltale that you got a sword. They're not the only fish that rise to the surface. We had a tuna that rose to the surface the other day. Most sharks won't rise to the surface, but then some makos will. Other sharks probably won't. The majority of whaler sharks will stay down. So a line rising up in the water column pretty rapidly is a really good indication you've got the right animal on board on the end of the line. That's a really good one. You've also got your thresher sharks that'll stay down deep and they'll fight you. 9 times out of 10, guys, if you get a bite and you lose it, it's probably a sword. You very rarely lose anything else down there when you're fishing in that deep water. Everything else has got a mouth and it eats. Swords are one of those few things down there that they'll whack and they'll play with a bait. They haven't got a lot of area in their mouth to hook. So, another thing is they don't do a hell of a lot of damage to your line. So, I get a lot of questions asking me, do you think this was a sword bite? Do you think we were attached to a sword today? And they actually don't do a lot of damage to, especially to a squid. Most of the damage on a lost fish will be a tear on the bait. And when the line dries, you'll see that your line has gone white nearly all the time. If you're using squid baits, the squid bait will also be white. The acids in their mouth and tummy just make it go white instantly. So they're a little telltale that you might have had the right thing and give you a bit of confidence to try again and get that fish on. I suspect that everybody in that room has got a fair idea of where to start in terms of getting a bait down there, because if you're going to be fishing a comp, you want to have done your research a little bit in getting a bait down there. I listened to all the rules, and yeah, that's why I sort of clarified that if you do get a bite on the way down or the way up and you're using the reel, it's not disqualified unless you actually get load on the rod tip. So yeah, just be quick to get all that gear off because we've actually had quite a lot of bites while we're bringing the gear up. Not so much sending the gear down, but bringing the gear up is always a risk that you're going to get a bite. A lot of people don't realise that the strike zone on a sword is not directly on the bottom. It is from the bottom for at least 200 meters up. Like we've been bit so many times, well and truly 100, 200 meters off the bottom and caught that fish. So especially if you're fishing 500 meters of water and beyond, my strike zone would be 300 down to the bottom. You know, if you're in 550, that means you got about 250 meters of strike zone, where you're very, very likely to encounter a sword. It's why we generally fish 2 outfits. One outfit is weighted heavily. The other outfit is not so weighted heavily and allows the gear to come up and travel through a different part of the water column and hopefully target those fish that aren't hanging on the bottom, if that makes sense. So, yeah. When does this comp actually start? Is it after today? Is today the first day of the comp? Or yeah, okay.
Midnight.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'm really hoping you guys really snag a few. I'll be watching keenly in the background. I'll throw it open to a few questions for you guys. If anyone wants to ask me a couple of questions before we put it away, and hopefully get you guys running.
Talk to the laptop. Look to the laptop. What hooks should we be using?
I'm waiting for somebody to ask that question. Okay. I'll give you a little bit of my experience and then you can draw an opinion from there, right? I predominantly used J hooks, and a lot of what I caught was on J hooks. The early days we started with circle hooks. We blew a lot of fish on circles. Last season I switched back over to circle hooks. We had a phenomenal conversion rate. Like I think we converted in a short time, it was about 12 out of 14 bites. Started the exact same program this season, fresh off the bat. We've probably lost at least 8 to 10 fish this year on circles after being hooked up for probably anything between 10 minutes and half an hour. So that was a little bit disheartening for us. We've switched back over to J's to see if we can rectify that. So the answer to the hook question is whatever stays in them fish, because honestly, we've had success on both. It really does come down to what you end up having confidence with. You will hook a sword on a J and keep him on, and you'll hook one on a circle and keep him on, and you will definitely lose them on both as well. So it will come down to what you have confidence with and what's getting the results. Both hooks work. Biggest thing I can tell you is how you present those hooks. Make sure they're super sharp and make sure they're not buried deep in the bait where they can't pull out. Questions?
What's your go-to bait?
I've got a couple. Squid, arrow squid in particular, torpedoes, or as we nickname them here, are definitely my number one. Very closely followed by an Australian salmon, be my second best bait. But most people don't realise how much of a garbage packer a sword is. They will eat just about anything. And I really do mean anything. Like, they are not a fussy eater. A lot of people go in, like, bait presentation is important because a sword can really belt up a bait, pull it apart. You know, they're like a child. They play with their food, and not every sword just hits the bait and eats it. That's ideally what you want, but I've had multiple swords will sit there and play with a bait and keep whacking it, and it's almost like a territorial bite rather than a feeding bite. And they may or may not decide to finish the job and eat it. So your bait needs to hold up. So presentation's pretty much important. So when it comes to choosing a bait, if you've got a soft, old, mushy fish, don't put it back down there, because as soon as he hits it, he's going to disintegrate that fish and he's not going to finish the job. If a sword gets a little bit of your bait, in other words, he breaks it, he rips the head off your squid or takes a section of a fish bait, that fish is gone. He will not come back for the rest of it. They're not like any other fish, and they'll just keep eating and eating. He'll get some of it, he'll chew it, swim away. 100 times out of 100, every time that's happened, the sword has not come back to finish the job. So bait presentation and how you hold it together and firmness of the bait is probably more important than what bait you use.
Can I ask a question? It's 3 questions in one, sorry. So, do flashing lights help aid in catching the fish? Like, are they okay with flashing lights, or keep them off your rig?
Okay, so the Yanks had a saying when we first started, like I heard this saying, and it's very true. No light, no bite.
Yeah.
Okay. The lights are very important. How you put them on your line and how you stagger them is less important than having them. I like to stagger them, a fair distance apart. I've always got one a couple of meters from the bait, which is not a really big light. It's just to highlight the bait. My bigger light is up quite a fair bit higher on the line, and the idea of that is to create line of sight. We're fishing in rough terrain, and the theory behind it is having a light up high. If your lights are very close to your bait, then generally speaking, that bait can be obscured in a canyon crevice and not seen from a distance down there. Like you can imagine what a light in pitch black darkness looks like from a distance. You can see a light in pitch black from miles away. So that's the theory about having some lights up a little bit higher on your gear.
Can you glow your skirts up with LED lights? Is it worth doing, or no? Just leave the one light 2 meters up. Like, do you glow your skirts up?
I've never done it. I would imagine that it wouldn't hurt, but they glow anyway. Like sunlight will make them glow anyway.
Even at that.
I've never. No, but before you put a skirt down, it's out in the daylight anyway. So it's getting charged up naturally.
Yeah.
But all that stuff wouldn't hurt. Anything that can create attention would not hurt.
Guys, we have one last question because I know Richard, it's pretty late there for Richie.
Drag pressure. You said that their mouths are really soft. You have a set sort of drag pressure you set your drag to.
Okay, it's a really good question and something to keep in mind. And someone came very, very badly unstuck a week ago here, a very good friend of mine. So most people are fishing sort of 50 talicas or 80s or 50 wide Tiagras. What you got to consider is when you set your drags at a full spool, whenever you get down to the bottom and you've lost 2/3 of your spool in capacity and the spool diameter changes considerably, that drag can increase by 1/3 or half at times, depending on the cam of the reel. A lot of people don't take this into account. So, for example, I fish 130 all my gear. We've got some pretty big swordfish in our waters, and you never know when that one's going to climb on. So I fish 130 with everything. We've hooked some absolute monsters up here, so I don't muck around with them anymore. And so there's a lot more forgiveness on 130. I mean, like if you think about the calculation, it's 1/3 of the breaking strength. So I could pretty much set that drag to 20 kilos and not have a worry about breaking off the gear. but I don't. Even though it's 130, I still set to 10 or 11 kilos on strike. Okay, for the simple reason, and there's a number of actual reasons for it. One is I don't want to be ripping hooks out of their mouth by pulling 20 kilos on them straight up. Number two is the buffer between getting your drag right when the reel's full. So when the reel's full and you set to 11 kilos, 12 kilos, when you get down on the bottom in 500 meters, that drag is closer to about 18, 19 kilos. And that's, that's just when you set it on 11 kilos. So imagine if you push it higher and start setting sort of drags up to 14 kilo, you're going to be well and truly over 20 kilo down on the bottom there.
What weight are you using when you?
What's that? Sorry, I missed that.
The weight that you're dropping down. Is there like a
brick?
Oh yeah, I'm just. There's no secret to it. It's just we use a house brick. Other people use Rio bar. Concrete. Yeah. It's not real scientific, in that part
So
of
I
it.
heard when you get to the bottom, you pull it really hard to snap the leader for the brick, and then it just sits on the bottom and drifts around.
That's exactly
cool.
how it works. But guys, with Richie, I would like a few of the boys on the boat with us. We were lucky enough to get a sword ourselves, and all of that was credited to Richie because the course that I did with him, it was maybe 8 hours long and so generous with his time. He goes into the most intricate detail possible with the whole process and absolutely everything. So, it's going to be not too long in the future, hopefully, before I fish with him. I know there's a lot of WA guys that go over there. And there's some boys over there at the moment from here. Richie?
Not now. They've all just gone back now. Jake's gone back. There was a couple other boys from down south there. They were fantastic guys, all of them.
Yeah.
And we got swords on. We got swords on with all of them. We just didn't land them all.
Are you planning on doing a course sometime in the future if the guys are interested here?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about that later. But look, I do my courses at least once a year. All the workshops we do, we'll do a sword one, a marlin one, a tuna one at least once a year.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you giving all your pointers today, what you've given, and also very reasonable price. What Richie puts together for the information you guys get. So when that comes up, if you let the boys know here, then I'm sure they'll jump on with you. So thank you very much again.
Thanks a lot, guys. Hey, listen, Spill, we haven't got more time, but enjoy and good luck to everybody. I hope you all snag one. Get the storage fever happening.
All right, next up, we won't have any more breaks. We're going to have Q&As. I'm throwing Scotty briefly. Then we've got Anthony followed by John, and it'll be open Q&A. So yeah, me and John go together. Yeah, Anthony and John will go together. And then we've got Matt over here with Skeletal behind him for part of that Q&A from a commercial fisherman's point of view of setting shots that are 52 kilometres long, over 10,000 hooks. So, Scotty, over to you.
Yeah, just very quickly, guys. Electric drill isn't actually a requirement. I'm not sure if anyone's tried to buy a cheap attachment before and give it a crack. I have. And the first time I brought the gear up, it broke, right? And that was like at midnight, and we finished fishing at like 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock next day, So there's a lot of manual winding. You don't need it. It makes it a bit easier, but you definitely don't need it, as Jono was saying, So don't be scared if you haven't got one. Just get the gear down. And last thing I wanted to say is just in regards to game fishing, Wakefield affiliated, if you're a member of a club, most people do it for the sport of game fishing, and they're right into it. So record fishing, etc. So if you were to, go, oh, screw it, I hooked up and I'm bringing the gear up, for example, and then you put that through, you got to remember that if you get that record, you're taking that record away from someone that doing properly, right? So the essence of game fishing, if you're fishing this type of fishing, is essential, right? So that the ethics of it. So that's all I really will say is if you're not doing the right thing, remember you could be taking a record away from someone that has done the right thing. So that's it. Thank you.
Our next speaker, or two speakers, Jono, Masel, Anthony Pecotic. They don't need much of an introduction, but it's fair to say we would not be here tonight if it wasn't for the young guns, 3 drops, send and bend, and the effort that they've put in over the last 1 or 2 years. Shane Anderson caught one on 15 kilo with his wife trolling accidentally on top water at the Fads 3-4 years ago. Ben Patrick went over and fished in Florida and learnt about daytime deep dropping 7 or 8 years ago. Came back here and got a small fish that might have been 30 or 40 kilos, but no one else has made any effort until these guys came along. Recently, in the last 12 months, Send and Ben, Anthony, he's done 3. Probably dropped a few and had quite a few hits.
Lost one boat side on the leader. 2 in the boat, 1 boat side.
So the masterclass that you're about to hear, and there'll be Q&A as well, presented by Anthony, and the most recent fish, first mandrill fish, 120 kilos 2 weeks ago from Jono Masel. So welcome these guys to the floor. Go.
Straight out from Andrew, or did you cut it off?
No, that was due west.
Due west, okay.
Yeah.
Due west,
But don't hold me in the same breath as this guy, because like I was saying, I've told Anthony before, like when you get somebody like Anthony who goes out there and actually puts the time and effort in and catches a fish, it makes a difference for everybody else to say, hey, this is actually possible to do it. Obviously, you see what's happening over in the East, in America, and it's only a matter of time, I think, and Richie thinks, and Anthony thinks before it's all going to open up here. It's honestly the most exciting thing for me, like to think we've got access to the same amount of fish as what's happening around the rest of the world. So, I just think that when you realise how special it is to catch a swordfish, it's so different to a marlin. I was on the boat with Ryan and Aaron when we got the fish, and it's like when you hook up, you're just not sure what's going on. Like with the marlin, most of the time you can see the hook up at the surface and you know what's going on, you know what sort of size fish it is, what you're dealing with. With a swordfish, it's completely different. Yeah. It's like another kettle of fish. And when you see this thing jump out of the water, and the length of the bill and the thickness of it, it's not the same as a marlin. So
you'll freak out way more than a marlin jumping.
Yeah, yeah.
You dropped it, pull it in 20 metres, and it's actually chasing you to the surface and go, oh fuck, I'm still on.
When them things shake their head and you're on 15 kilos of drag, it's near on pulling you over the water. Like it's.
Can it be the opposite?
It's like that.
Can it be coming at you and thinking I'm on?
Yeah, you don't.
Bang them on again?
The few that I've had boat side, they go nuts, like crazy. So you're on 15 kilos of drag, for example. Crazy. They're throwing their heads around, they're jumping, they're carrying on. You can't keep that line tight. It just barely happens. That big one we caught, the state record, that attacked the boat multiple times. Vicious beast.
Yeah, but it's.
It nearly sunk that day. We'll get to that.
So Anthony's put some slides together to go through just some points on what helped us catch the fish. Obviously, we're far from the experience of Richie, and I know there's a lot of other people in this room, including the expert over there who has caught a lot of fish. But what we're going to share with you tonight is just our experience and what helped us to find the fish. And whilst we're going through, it's probably easier if there's any questions to shout them out as we go. Otherwise, you'll forget them. So 100%. I think we'll start with the slide, and then I'll finish with like the story of like what happened to us out there.
Yeah, finish on it.
Yep. You happy with that?
Yep.
Okay. Should we do it? Okay.
All right. Well, we can go to the next one. That's all good. So sounders and transducers. Me and Johno in our current boats, we run the same setup, CM599 through a S5100, high wire, low actually, through a S5100 module in a fairing block by PK Marine. Awesome job, that thing reads 30, 40 knots all day long. I've had no issues with that. In my old boat that I'd actually caught swordfish in, I used to run just a TM275, high, low, wide. Through the same. Had no issues catching swords with that. Obviously, it just doesn't work as good as the more expensive
upgrade.
Yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, like if you've got a boat that doesn't have such an expensive sounder, I don't think it's the be all and end all. If you've got a general idea as to where you think the area is, I think there's a lot of fish out there. Every time I've been out there, I've been to different sort of ground to try and target them, and our baits are getting hit like in all different areas. And I think that if you're in that depth range, which we'll get to, you're in the right area. So finding like a specific spot exactly is not the be all and end all. I think if you've got relief shading on your Navionics, I think that's a big key to it, because I run the same as what Anthony does. So I've got the 599, the 3 kilowatt, and the 1 kilowatt on the boat, both of them are good, but I don't think it's the be all and end all. I think the lower end sounders, from what I've seen, they're marking fish. Like Richie, I've seen fish that he's marking down at 550. I can say I've never seen a fish down at 550 before. So
I've marked the fish that I've had hooked coming up.
You've seen it, but not on the bottom. No. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have the bees, knees, and sounders. Like, just get out there and go to those relief shading areas in the right depths. I think.
Yeah, 100%. But it's definitely helps to have.
What's the right? What depth? Sorry.
450 to 600. That's a sweet spot.
Yeah. No, that's all right. No, it's fine.
Feel free.
Ask questions. That's fine. Yeah.
What would you say is 3 biggest things for someone starting?
Oh, that's a very general
preparation.
Question. Yeah, that's a good point that Anthony just raised as well. Yeah, that's the big one. That's a huge one.
100%.
Like, you don't want to go rigging baits out there.
You don't want to be doing anything out there. That's losing fishing time. I do everything. My baits are rigged, in the freezer, vac sealed, ready to go, weeks before I'm going fishing. The week before, bricks get rigged, so it's easy, 2 minutes, and then we go reset adrift, bang, done. And say you sorry?
Any good spot to get the bricks from?
Find a building property, mate.
Sorry, mate. California squid, or we going for fresh squid?
All the swords I've caught.
Sorry, mate. It might be a silly question.
No, it's not a silly. It's not.
It's
Do I go
definitely.
to California squid, $38, or do I go to Coburn Sound and catch them?
No, all the swords I've caught have been on calamari squid from Coburn Sound.
Copy.
But
top range sounder, top range transducer. Are you looking for fish or are you looking for ground?
No, I'm still just looking for ground and scatterwire. Scatterwire.
And deep drop
ground,
fish as
not
well.
even really. Scatterwire is the main thing. Looking for life.
Like in the same cannon, same area. If you get all 3 of your fish in the same cannon.
I got 2 at the same, one completely different, and Johno is fishing probably 40 mile away from where I'm fishing.
If you drop your line to the bottom and you see a thermox line at 200 metres, do you bring it back up to 200 metres and go, that's where the bait's at?
Don't get there.
Hang on.
That's why you can run 2 rods.
If you drop it to the bottom and you see a thermox line at 300 metres, when you're saying you can get a depth from 400 to 300 or 200, you see a thermox line, like it's in obviously a change in the...
Yeah.
Do you bring it back up? I don't know.
So, like, obviously, most people in this room are going to be beginners, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So, I would not recommend dropping 2 rods. Yeah. Just fish one and pick a part of that water column that you think looks the best, the thickest sort of life, and fish that. That's my sort of advice on that. If you go first time sword fishing, go try fish 2 rods. Yeah, good luck.
No, I just meant if you drop to the bottom, you see that line, do I bring it back up? Like, do you want to fish that thermox line, or do you want to fish the bottom, just the way you want?
Bit of both.
We've got different opinions on that, but everyone's going to have. I see. For me, I'll break that weight off at the bottom, and I'll let that thing float. I'll let it come up in the water column, so it covers all the different layers of that.
How do you let it come up?
It just naturally comes up itself. Once you've broken that, if you want to break it off, you might not break the weight off.
Yeah.
It might stay down there.
I got you now.
Yeah, if you break it off, it will come up naturally. If not, then it won't.
Go that.
Oh, sorry, mate.
So this is what we're going on to now, scatterwire. That's what we're talking about. It's where the layer in the ocean where the small fish, squid, plankton are the most concentrated. Swordfish generally feed in and around this area. Go to the next slide, please, Andre. So these are some examples of it on a few different boats and sounders. You can see the real thick sort of scatter here on that top corner. You can see it again there. That's sort of that main sort of thing you're looking for.
But-
This one's showing more so ground in an area.
Over here, like this is the way I see it. Over here, you can see like a thicker ground. So that's harder bottom. That's how I understand it. And that's the sort of thing that I look for, that transition. So it's not necessarily about what else is going on, but that's the sort of ground that I'll be looking for, obviously as a scatter layer, as he says as well. So when we caught our one, that day we had, for whatever reason, like a lot of like coral spawn that was coming up, like we could tell that it was on that scatter layer. So there was a lot, that's all phytoplankton, it's all the things that the squid will feed on, and that's where the swords will generally be.
So this is from a day that I've caught a swordfish. You can see the scatter's real thick on the bottom, hard. So I'm fishing that bottom part of the ocean. It's where the life's concentrated, drop a bait, hooked up first drop. This is on Jono's boat, just showing different.
What's that? Yeah, so I generally try and fish 2 rods if I can, so I can try and cover both areas. But it is more challenging fishing 2. It is much easier, obviously, with 1. But I try and let my squid float up, so it covers all of it. But it's easier said than done, I think, out there because if you're in the right area, out here, the squid are nailing your bait. So it's hard to almost leave the bait down for more than half an hour without getting your bait taken. And if you're not getting it taken, well, then you start thinking you're in the right area. I know over east, Richie's saying that the squid aren't as bad. So he can go do longer drifts than what we can here. So a lot of it's a bit of trial and error as well, seeing what you can find.
Yeah, so a bit of gear of choice. I swear by the Talikas and the Miller sword fights as we got sort of over there. The Miller sword fights, just compared to a conventional trolling rod, the tip is so different. You can see every little bite. It's so easy to see. If you want, I've got a few videos on my phone I could happily show you later. I tried to add it in here, but it wouldn't let me for some reason. I've also used the Shimano sword rod. That's a pretty nice rod as well, happy with that.
I think that's what Matt Watson uses as well. He uses those.
Yeah.
Richie prefers the sword fight rods, the Ian Miller sword fight rods. I run those. I don't think that if people are new to it, and you don't want to go and spend $1,000 on a specific rod for sword fishing, I don't think you need to. Just use your standard marlin gear as well. You won't see the action as well on the tip, which is ideal. You know, the more money you spend, the better the quality of the gear. But it doesn't mean you won't catch the fish.
Yeah,
so
100%.
just get out there and just.
My first sword was caught on a broomstick, 60 kilo trolling rod. So
yeah.
Are you using the same amount of, say, top shot as when you're marlin fishing, like 100 meters, or are you doing like a top shot?
Much less. I'm about 50 to 60 meters, sort of a top shot. 100%.
Actually, funny you say that because the first time I went out, I think I had like 200 meters top shot.
Did you snap your brick off?
I couldn't snap my brick. We were just there like this the whole day. I was with the boys and we couldn't. We couldn't snap the brick.
Did you ever hand line it to fill the bite?
No, never done it.
Is it anyone done?
I've seen Richie do it on his videos. I've tried, but it didn't happen to us when we hooked up. My fish was in the rod hold up when we saw it hook up.
Circles versus Jays.
Well, we don't need to go
that's
into
already been
that.
covered.
Yeah.
You've heard Richie's spiel. That's why it had as a question mark there.
We don't know.
I've caught 2 fish on J hooks, the BKK, Macaras, Tenos. Hadn't had an issue with them. The one fish that I've had boat side that's fallen off wasn't a circle hook, which you wouldn't think would have happened, but it did. So
actually, just on that point as well, if you have a look at the experts' hooks, like I reckon they'd be like just good for whiting, not those ones, not those. The hooks that what's his name, Matt?
Yeah, crazy.
What Matt uses. Look, if you have a look at the size of those.
It would come out of a swordfish's mouth from the Indonesian fishing gear, the Taiwanese, the Chinese. So we obviously sit quite far off the coast in international waters, and we find more of these in swordfish than anything else. We run circles and gays, mixture of both, but I'd say these are the best hooks in the world. So you sit really low inside the wood of a squid, so you put a circle in wrong, the squid's going to spin. Swordies and Johno don't like that. these are great just finding with hooks. I think that big fish. Food for
And what is it? We don't know.
Yeah, let's stay there for a bit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a hook that I've caught most of mine on, and that's a hook that I dropped mine on. But, and again, yeah, no, I can't say anything about hooks because we don't really know yet. I've been using the fluorocarbon leader. Don't have to again. Standard high catch is fine, or any other 400 or 500 pound leader, but I think that's the sort of range you want to be in. Yeah, thimbles, just your standard sort of rigging. Make sure you got wax thread if you want to be rigging baits. And lights, plenty of lights. That's sort of my sword fishing tackle box.
Where do we get the lights?
Diamond Networks, any tackle shops, Temu, anywhere.
Can you just use many plastics instead of locks, or?
I think that they explode under the pressure down there. I think on the bottom they're no good.
It's a bit different when you're online because you've got 650 hooks, you pretty much make a line. Everything's connected to it. You really it's just a line. Market all these lines. Anything on this side comes towards it, that side comes towards it.
But also the lights drag.
Yes.
Guys, this is the light, by the way. That's the. Well, this.
That's the one I'd use closest to my bait.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Why don't you put it in your mouth?
Diamond Networks, these guys are $5.90. You'll get them as part of your grab bag as well.
When you register as a quick bag,
Blue water tackle. Down in Mandurah.
Yes.
Blue water tackle. Taste. Talk to him. He can set your ride up.
Good fellow.
Yeah, a bit on baits and rigging. Obviously, Richie sort of touched on this. Squid's his go-to. I've caught fish on belly flaps of tuna, mackerel, or had bites on sambos. I haven't tried an eel, but I've seen plenty of people using eels and with good success. But yeah, that's the main thing. Prepare your baits. Look after them.
And just getting back to what you said, like you were saying, fresh baits from you don't need to worry about fresh baits. Like from what Richie says, what everyone says, like he'll go and rig like hundreds of baits in like over a few days, and then have them for the season, and then freeze them, so that he's got them for the year or two or whatever the season. So that's it's just the preparation.
Yeah.
That's like really the main thing. You do not want to be out there doing stuff. You just want to be focusing on your time when you're out there watching that rod tip.
Some of the squids we've used to drop while we're meant to be sleeping out there, we'll drop a rod and we'll catch a sword here and there. Some of them have been sitting on the deck for 12 hours.
Wow.
They're not fresh at all.
Yeah, probably.
And do you just use squids, or you use other bait?
We do use a few fish baits, but I can tell you from my experience of catching hundreds of tons of swordfish, squids to go.
And is it arrow squid or calamari? Like what does
Arrow squid or diamondback squid you get out there, I've found that in the guts of sorties. But predominantly the arrow squid, bull squids are the ones we get out here. But the eelix squid is cheaper, about $5, $6 a kilo.
What size squids are you running?
Smaller than that, sometimes this big.
Really?
Wow.
If they're big, you end up getting slashed, and like the other fella said, they won't come back to it.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing, is you want something that will fit in its mouth in one go. You don't want to actually try and fight.
And the baits you're getting, are they available to? Where do you get them from? Can you get them anywhere? Like just normal little squid? Is that what you're saying?
We
Coburn Sound.
We get containers of it over, so they go straight on the boat, 20 kilo bags. You fill the freezer, so.
But you prep all your stuff.
Get it out in the morning, defrost it during the day.
Do you wrap it?
Not at all.
Would you wrap it, Steve?
I can put it through a video of us mating up, squid up, it's really
They're just fishing like an old vessel.
There's no bait saver?
I just think you can drop it down. It's like it's different up and down.
Yeah.
Very, very, very different. In my opinion.
The difference with Matt as a commercial fisherman, they're running 10,000 hooks.
Yeah.
Yes. We're not doing it for
the sport.
They don't have to wax thread everything, but when you got one hook,
it's a bit different.
One shot, it's very, very different.
We don't do it for spike. I almost expect for these guys to go out and get them recreationally because that's not easy for me. But commercially fishing, it's a hard job.
Yeah.
We are mainly targeting tuna as well. So we're in 6.5 kilometres of water fishing the top 140 metres. We fish for them at night time, not during the day.
Does your 599 work in 6 kilometres of water?
I haven't tested that, mate.
Is that deeper in the daylight, shallower in the night time?
We have kind of a metabolic loop in our system, so we can either, like I showed the boys before, we're targeting swordfish, we can actually clip to a hook and run a double rig or a triple rig. But it's just dodgy when you're pulling it up with 200 kilos, so we go past the hook.
How many kilowatt transducers do you guys run? And is time zero?
Yeah. All right. Next slide.
Yeah. Next.
Time zero.
All right. Did we skip a couple there?
Yeah, no, that's all right. No, talk
No,
about
that's
that.
all right. Yeah,
No,
we're
go
still
back.
on
Go back. Go.
Yeah, so there's just a few pictures of baits. That's squid that we've caught out there. Yeah, pretty easy to catch out there.
And I think glow squids as well is like very important
Yeah.
as well. Like
these are just off the internet that I found, just dolphin fish belly flaps, and again there, perfect bait, perfect bait.
You rate those?
Rate them highly.
Yeah.
Meridian.
Yeah, they're Meridian. They're expensive. They're real good quality. I've also caught swords on the one Tommy Miller, Current Line Lures does. Cheaper skirt, still does the job. Just got the right shape for us to go on a squid.
Yep. Next.
Yeah, that's what. That's squid I've caught, vac sealed and ready to go, sort of thing.
Yep. Next slide.
Yeah. The bite and the fight. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things that I think you've just. We're so attentive to that rod. We don't. When we're on the boat, we're staring at that rod because there's just so many squid down there. You're just watching to see if whatever's hitting that rod tip. If you're like the squid hit that rod tip, you kind of know your bait's gone. That's the problem that I'm having out there. I'm like, there's just so many squid. I don't want to have my bait down there because you've only got 1 or 2 baits and the bait and you get baited without knowing about it. So that's why I'm so attentive to the rod tip. That's the most important thing for me, just to be watching it for that reason. When our fish hit, I'm sure it's probably similar with Anthony. All you literally see, I saw your footage was just a few taps, and then we saw a pool of line on the water, and it looks like you've just been bitten off by a mackerel, and that's what made us say that something's happened. We knew something had happened. We didn't know like what had hit it, but something had happened, and then that's the point in time where like, I think we've got a fish. This is everything textbook that a swordfish, everyone says this happens with a swordfish. And then we started winding, and then after 100 metres of winding, 150 metres of winding, that's when it came tight. So that's why we just always watching that rod tip so closely.
You ever seen 5 guys stare at a rod tip for 12 hours on a boat? It happens pretty regularly.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Yeah, landing the beast. So grab the gaff there, Jono.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone used one of these before? Or anyone gaffed a billfish? You know how crazy it can get? Yeah.
Should we do a demonstration, Scotty?
So yeah, this is a flying gaff. Obviously you stick the fish, you have the back end tied off to the boat. You stick the fish, hold the rope, the pole comes away, and it's you versus the fish. Tug of war.
Is that a slip knot?
Huh? That's just. This is just for storage. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's just storage. I usually just have it taped. Like no, that rope's gone. I just have it taped up. The tape breaks with the weight. Yeah, but yeah, that's one thing I want to talk about. They're very aggressive at the boat. They're wild. Be careful. Yeah.
And the length of your
Yeah.
rope.
So, Scotty.
Oh, yeah, that's actually also true.
What's the maximum length you can?
That's really long.
Yeah, I think.
Top of my head is like 9 metres, which you won't run 9 metres. So I'd keep it to a manageable length. But you can't on that. You can't like. Oh, I have heard of it. You can run. It's from the cleat you tie off to. So if you've got a rope running from your rear cleat to your bollard cleat, like front bow cleat, then you've got a sliding.
Yeah.
So you can run down the side of the boat with your flying gaff. can't do that. It's going to be tied off to a cleat. So if you want to fish the bow and the bow and the stern, you're going to run 2 flying gaffs. So you can't have a rope that runs between the two, have to tie off that and run between it. That's no go.
Can you have it on a float?
Sorry?
Can you have it on a float? And can you use harpoons?
Well, there's
It's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, good question.
Plenty of crew. Oh, well, that's what.
That harpoons is a good question.
If you want to catch one, like pretty much guaranteed, you know, I've gaffed, flying gaff. Well, you know, Matt's done it plenty of times. I've done it maybe on big fish probably like 8 times. It isn't easy. It's scary as well. It's wild.
Yeah.
If you want to eat it and you just harpoon it, it won't count towards comp or for you know, for anything to do with records or game fishing. But if you want to catch it, it's harpooning. It's probably the way to go. Like they do on wicked tuna and stuff. You know, they just harpoon it because
over.
it go nuts and just let it go and just pull it back up again. You know? But you can't do that.
What's out? What's out of flying?
Like, can you use a float
Yeah.
and let it go on a float? So is that legal?
No. It has to be attached to the boat, and you got 9 meters max, which I wouldn't recommend. 9 meters is way too much rope. Keep it short. Yeah.
And so, yeah, to be perfectly clear with everyone, there is a maximum limit for your gaff rope, and if it's over, the fish will be DQ'd.
It's a good point.
And it came really close with Pecos.
Mine was the pole. That pole was maximum length. So any poles longer than that.
I was weighmaster for that fish. Awesome fish. Everyone excited, and it was a record. Measure everything, and there's 2.44 meters overall for that gaff. And I measured it, and it was like 2.5 or something. And I was like, holy shit, it's going to be DQ'd. Yeah. It's the wrong head.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Right? Put the right head in there, and it was like still too long. I was like, oh my God, they DQ it. Oh, my heart just dropped. So again, if you guys don't get like simple stuff like this, so I'm not even measuring here a flying gaff, I've got to DQ that fish. The weighmaster has to disqualify it. Yeah, well, who cares? I've caught this fish, this, that, rah. It doesn't matter. Everyone fishes by the same rules. But I was about to DQ Pecs. You know, it was going to be sucky. And we pushed the gaff in a bit more. And it was on the friggin' donger. Like, it was right left by, like, couldn't believe it, how close it was. It was scary. I said, mate, go home, cut 50 off that game. But that's the rules, you know? So the GFAA app explains it all. Download it. Yeah.
Because we get done with this time after time in comps, and we feel it sucks from a tournament point of view, disqualifying fish. We don't like doing it, but leader lengths, the combined lengths, everyone gets that mixed up, and they go, okay, but the combined is 12 meters. No, like go off your leader length. So you got your leader length, you got your gaff length, you got your rope length. There's those couple of things you have to get right.
Just very quickly again, Tommy, just before I get held up on this, like I've read it before, like back, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, and just like had my moments going, it doesn't make sense, can't get your head around it, and a quick phone call to someone who's been through it, it all makes sense, so don't risk it. Ring someone who knows, like you got my number kicking around, or ring someone who's done it before, and don't get fish disqualified for something silly like you let it in too long. Don't do it. It's crazy.
Is there a rule of thumb for stretch factor?
You don't got to stretch that much, allow for it.
There you go. I'm not sure.
So I always go a half a meter less on everything.
Yeah.
Because then I know I'm good.
Yeah.
I sleep easy.
Don't measure if you're worried.
DQ, go over length leaders. So yeah, everyone's done it.
Yeah, 9.5.
Yeah, catch care. Obviously, if someone catches one, you want to eat it. You want to look after it. Madfish bags are excellent. You can see I've got a sword in there. Fits perfect. Happy days. Keeps it on ice. That's what you want. Tarps, Scotty mentioned earlier. Towels. Good set of knife. Yeah, some people like scrubbing them with a broom or a high pressure clean to get rid of that slime and stuff off their skin.
It's probably essential as well. You want to hit it. Pressure cleaner works wicked. We don't Jonos like that.
So much better.
The reason is because they've got this coating on the outside of them. So if you don't do that and you cut into it, it actually penetrates into the meat and it can spoil it. So
at least
hopefully,
yeah.
You do? Okay.
Any issues with hitting with the pressure cleaner?
We don't have pressure cleaner.
Okay.
You should actually scrape it off every fish.
Yeah.
Two fish are the same.
Tides, moons and current. So this was a screenshot from a couple of days ago out there. For me personally, if I had to pick somewhere to fish, I'd be looking probably somewhere around here, the start of the push. But that's just something that I've personally monitored. I haven't really picked up too much on tides, moons, or currents really
Yeah.
in these fish yet. I haven't caught enough.
My opinion on it is if the weather's good, fish.
Yeah.
Like,
100%,
don't even worry. You know, like
time on the water.
Sorry, actually, that's what did Matt?
They do like the cold water.
Yeah.
Especially on the edge.
So you fish more the upwellings? Like,
See, on the
like here,
there,
like this area.
You put the line straight down the middle there, you get tuna, swordfish, tuna.
But do you fish the breaks, or are you fishing like inside the
We've
upwelling?
got to follow the currents with our line because obviously it's not anchored in any ways, it's completely free drifting.
Yeah.
So the currents and the tides affect our line and we try and set it in a way that it'll pull straight, but also
Right.
when we are winching it up,
Yeah.
we're pulling the whole line towards us as much as we're driving along the boat,
Okay.
along the line. So we're constantly pulling it. And
Yeah.
if it's moving, it's always doing different.
But if you saw a chart like this, would you try and fish inside the upwelling, or would you try and fish more the break, like the?
With one hook. You're asking me with one hook.
Okay, yeah. All right.
That's a hard question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But right in that top corner where you had your hand,
Yeah.
like sort of
There.
just on the
Yeah.
inside.
Oh, just like that.
Right on the edge.
Yeah.
just
Right.
on-
Okay. That's
right-
what
right
Anthony was
towards the
saying.
whole-
Yeah.
whole
So
water.
I think like my take on it is it's a lot like marlin. You know, you're looking for the same sort of things as you would for marlin, and it's like Richie said to me, it's important to fish the right currents and the right ground. It's not like you would go and drive around and fish for jewfish on flat ground where there's no marks or there's no baits, there's no you want to fish exactly the same way as you would fish for any fish. They're like any other fish, so that's what you've got to look for, and that's how you got to think. Like in my head.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. Calm weather is definitely a lot easier out there. 10, 15 knots of wind, you're battling to fish on the bottom. It's hard work. That calm weather, every time it's been calm, I've been out there, I've caught one. When it's been rough, hard to see the bites. Everything's just hard. It's not as easy.
Big point. Yeah.
It's not like marlin fishing at all in that regards.
Yeah.
Marlin fishing, you drive and you can pull your lures in 25 knots of wind, no issues. Swordfish, you're drifting, you're on the bottom, you got to look for this tiny little bite. If you're in 20 knots of wind, rocking and rolling, you're not going to see that bite. It's just.
Majority of the time, you don't see it on the bottom. You just get in the right depth and.
I think both. No, at least one of them I've caught out of here. As soon as I've dropped that brick to the bottom, bang on. I've fished up in Exmouth for swords as well, a few occasions. On the way down, getting bit.
Did you see it before you got hit? Or you
No, it's still like, say it's 300 metres down and I'm on the way to 600. I've been bit on the way down a few times. They snap your brick off and then you never hook them fish.
All right, next.
In Europe, a lot of the like tuna drifting and stuff, I was there last year and a lot of them set up balloons to get the bait right down.
Yeah.
It'd be probably the same like here,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But they do that in Europe.
Yeah. You look at the people in America, they fish buoy rods. They fish a rod straight down, then they fish a buoy rod 50 metres back. I've done that. Works. There's no issue with that. But yeah, there's no real right or wrong way to do it. Everyone's still new at this, so you just got to have a crack and figure it out as you go, really.
Before you do safety, just talk more about your breakaway.
Breakaway. So I used just go to AFW or whatever tackle shop you go to, buy a spool of the cheapest one I got, around that £10. Then I'll just do a double uni to like 60, 80 pound leader, attach my brick or two, depending on weather.
Straight to your hook?
Yeah, straight to the hook. Yeah. Tied on to the side, that's not going to push the bait off the hook.
Breakaway, pull it off, floats up.
Yeah. I use them pretty short.
Off the bottom of the hook.
Yeah. But I tie it on, so obviously that's got a bit of pressure there. It can push the bait off the hook. Yeah, I do it on the opposite side so it won't.
80 pounds tied to your weight.
Yeah, my
And
brick
then-
or
Then
rod.
you've got how much?
Oh, it's only about that much of 80 pound, just something enough to tie a knot, and then I've got about 2 metres max of 10 pound.
Yeah.
Hit the bottom, wind a bit, bang, gone, wind up to where I want to be fishing.
And I'm interested in this because I've had to wind 2 bricks up in 6
We've all been there, mate. We've all been there.
You guys ever like a hook on the hook?
Yeah, there's so many different variations of it. Yeah, the coat hanger trick.
Yeah, I just don't think
Yeah.
Do you prefer the line?
Oh, that's just how I've been doing it, and I haven't had an issue.
No real
Yeah, I've pretty much got my technique to my method. No more tangles. It sort of works now. It's taken a couple of years to get to that point, but yeah. Now if I'm going sword fishing, I know, bang, it's going to work. I'm confident.
The best advice I reckon for getting that release weight off is not too much mono, because I think
Yeah,
everyone says that.
that's the biggest thing. That's why I said that 50.
Get your bricks back.
Swim down, mate. Swim down. Yeah. Give him a lot for that. Give him a lot. Winner.
I might give a bit of a
We'll go a bit of a rundown on
so,
Jono's recent fish.
So after that, like as I was saying before, how incredible that feeling is. Like hopefully everyone in this room gets a swords because it's the most unbelievable experience ever. But it was a bit of an awakening for me. I've spent a lot of time on the water on my boat, which is a 255 Conquest, one of the best known hulls out there. We were out there a week later, and we decided to go for another try. I was with Brett, Ryan, and Aaron again, and this was about 5:30 at night. We were coming back from 45 nautical miles out, and all of a sudden, like Ryan puts his head into the cabin, and there's a whole heap of water inside in the cabin, and he goes, "Is that meant to be there?" And I said, "Mate, we're actually in a bit of trouble here. We've opened the back hatch, and all the water started overflowing from like where the bilge is, like through onto the back deck. So we were, before we knew it, a boat that can do 50 knots was doing 8 knots full speed, and we were almost up to our knees in water out the back in the back deck. And we opened the back hatch, all the water started rushing out. We had the back hatches, which had water pouring like through the back hatches, and we had no idea what was going on, how this can happen on this hull. So we were out there, and we felt a really big bang, but we didn't suspect anything more than what I'd hit before in the past from a big wave. It's like I was like, okay, it's just another wave. And Ryan's put his head over the side onto the one on side of the hull and seen a big gash down the one side. So we've all run onto the port side to start bailing to try and keel the boat over to stop the water getting in. At this point, we ran into the cabin. We grabbed life jackets, EPIRB. We radioed into marine rescue. So we had a helicopter up because we were literally starting to stop, and we thought we were going to spend the night out at sea. Just basically on the bottom of the hull with Channel 7 on the helicopter. It was just not a good sign. So anyway, we did everything that we needed to do, and we had 3 bilges going, 2 automatic, 1 manual. Ryan was on the bucket, which was the perfect bucket to fit inside the kill tanks, and after two scoops, he threw it overboard, which was convenient. And he's like, "Is that all right?" And the boys are like, "It's fine," So we somehow managed to start getting speed again, and when a sea rescue were coming out, we were doing 30 knots past them because we'd managed to get a lot of the water out and get back before the boat sank. But when we got back, we were just like, we were in shock something like that could happen on the boat, and you just, things can go from 0 to 100 in 2 minutes. And I mean, like speaking to Anthony, I don't know, these swords might be a little bit cursed. They've got something out for us, because a similar story happened to
with that
Anthony.
State record swordfish we got last year. In the process, while I was on the leader, trying to gaff it, get in the boat, Brodie's on the back deck in front of the engine there. I had a plastic inspection hatch, about 250, 300 opening sort of thing. Stood on it. We didn't realise, he didn't know he stood on it, just through the chaos of the swordfish. Obviously, the boat sits a little bit like that. That deck gets water coming over it constantly. Whole hull filled up water. Like by the time we gaffed the swordfish, went to go get the swordfish in the boat, we're like, fuck, we're going down a bit here. like, this is a bit, how you going? Set the EPIRB off straight away. I was like, boys, cut that fucking swordfish. Oh, sorry, my language. Get rid of that swordfish. They didn't. They so there's a lot of swearing going on. Managed to get the boat moving. I was sitting basically like that. My engine was pretty much underwater. Very, very close to going. I reckon another minute of us being stationary, we're gone. Super close. We managed to get the boat moving. I had no radio comms, couldn't get anyone out there. The only way I got in contact, I had a sat phone on my boat. I got in contact with Levi on shore, and he got in contact with Sea Rescue. In the meantime, I called my dad as well, and he shot out on his boat. And so we got the support we wanted out there, 50 odd mile offshore. They came, they helped us, they escorted us back. We made it back, got the fish in, weighed the fish. It was during the junior tuna comp for PGFC, and everyone wanted to talk and that. It was just like white as a ghost. It was a terrifying experience. Yeah, we set the EPIRB off. We all had life jackets on. Yeah, we're ready to go.
But it gets all real. We think we possibly hit a sea. We possibly hit a sea container or something out there.
Club Marine's not here,
No.
You hit a sea container with a swordfish.
Things get real out there very quickly. And I can't definitively say what happened. In all honesty, I can't definitively say what happened. The assessor came out and he said, there's 2 layers of fiberglass with the boat. And obviously with the, guys, please, with the Boston Whalers, they've got a foam filled hull, but we had evidence of cracking from the outside and then right through, and then on the inside layer, which isn't even a part of it, we had cracking through there as well, which it indicated that we've hit something pretty serious. But when Jono gave me, I spoke to Johno after, he's like, this was when I caught the sword. He's like, mate, I'd love you to say a few words about the first sword you caught, and I was umming and ahhing if I should. And then this incident happened. I called Jono back and I said, mate, I'm very happy to share my experience of catching the sword, but what's important for me is to get up here and explain to everybody the situation that happened to me. It doesn't matter if you're on like a small Quint Rex or a Viking 80 foot, it can happen out there to anybody on any boat. And if by me saying what I've got to say tonight saves somebody because of this extra list, when you go get your skipper's list, your skipper's ticket, or you speak to people, they'll give you a mandatory things that you need to have. If you're out, whatever it is, 10 nautical miles, you need flares, you need EPIRB, you need life jackets, this, that. It's all that mandatory stuff. I had it all, plus a few extra items. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to speak to some very experienced fishermen in a group and put together a much more elaborate list of things that people can add to their boat to hopefully save them, because flares aren't going to save you if your boat's going down and it's not foam filled. These things aren't going to save you. If you set your EPIRB off, your boat goes down. If you're out there overnight, it's not ideal if you don't have some extra things. So I spoke to a lot of very experienced fishermen that have had a lot of time in the water. Marley, wherever he is, wherever he was like one of the. Oh, there he is. There he's in the back. Yeah, probably one of the more experienced and well prepared.
Sunk as well. So.
Yeah. No, but I trust him on his boat with the advice he had. So if I can just quickly run through these things with you guys, I think it's a very important thing. If there's anything to take out of tonight, it's probably this, full stop. So the bilges, we had 2 bilges, automatic bilges going, plus the manual bilge, plus we had that bucket. So I think high water alarm bilges are very essential. So there's the high water on the bilges. I think this is something that I'd probably carry on my next boat. The 3 drops was the old boat, and it's actually sitting out in the Fremantle Sailing Club. For anyone who wants to go see it, the whole bottom's literally torn off. You wouldn't believe the damage that's happened because it's all delaminated following the impact. But I would probably have something like this that can really dump water really quickly. Mask and snorkel and fins, obvious if you hit something and you're out really far, but you can actually need to see what's going on. I think that's a really handy thing just to have spare on the boat. buckets. Just don't bring Ryan because he'll throw it over. The emergency safety gear, obviously, like the obvious, like the flares, the fire extinguisher, quality first aid. The jump start's handy, especially if you're on the longer trips and you got the engine cut off. I think I always carry that. The dry bag for essentials, like obviously the things that you don't want to get wet is also important. I mean, just Sigaflex screws, like high density polyethylene board if you need to make a quick fix. Yeah, cable ties. Bottle of rum, that's very helpful. And a few spares. Can we go to the next one, please? Yep. Yep. So survival flotation, life raft. Thank you. It's something that I want to put on my next boat. So you go to Whitworth's, you can buy a little 8-kilo bag. They're about $1,000. You'd pay $1 million potentially if you're out there for one if you actually need it. It's not expensive, it's 8 kilos, so it's not going to take up a lot of space. The life cell is also another option out there if your boat's too small to even take one on. Obviously the anchor, log on. So this is actually. This is actually an interesting one because obviously if you log on and you're on a Swordfish, you're gonna have a problem because if you're out 45 nautical miles, this is the debate we're having the boys. What do? You're logged on. You're not back in time, but you're not going to cut that line. Like there's no way I'm cutting the line if I'm on a fish. I'll fish that. I'll fire that thing for 18 hours if I have to. You know, so we'll get like if you go to these are like know your emergency procedure and prepare the crew. So that's obvious. If you go to the next slide.
No.
Okay, no, that's okay. So I think there was one more, but
yeah, there should be one in between, maybe.
I just want to. Yeah, I just want to. Yeah.
I believe the most important thing that you're missing here.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we had a slide missing. So I think, but guys, if there's anything that I've missed here, and I'd actually encourage everyone to go through these slides and take pictures of these. And if there's something that you think I'm missing or that would be helpful, I want to know about it because I want to have it.
You should be doing short-range radio courses, having MMSI numbers, and allowing your DSC to do what it needs to do on the vessel. So while your vessel's sinking and you're worrying about emptying it, it's transmitting location to other vessels around that do have the capability of reading what you're transmitting.
So that's a really good. That's a really good suggestion. AIS. Okay.
Transceiver should be a receiver. It's a transceiver.
Okay, transceiver. Okay, no, that's really good. I'd love to know that. So Marley actually told me about this one as well. Sorry, I'll wrap things up. But Marley actually told me about this one as well. This is actually a really handy thing, I think, where if you've logged on and you're on a fish and you don't want to come back in, this Spot Gen 4 thing that you get at Anaconda enables you to send pre-written texts to numbers that you've already programmed, or you can get another one, which is a satellite messenger, where you can actually text out there via satellite to people to let them know that you're going to be in late. So I think that's a very big one to have, and it's what I'm going to be getting.
With Starlink, it might work on land. When you're not on land, it's classed as ocean and will not work when you're out on the ocean in an event of an emergency. So don't grab your land one and run out there with it unless it's configured to do it.
Okay. Yeah, and there's a whole process. There's a whole process to getting your Starlink to work offshore.
Yeah, but offshore, roam's different. Offshore is different again. Yeah. So roam, you can roam up and down the coast, do what you want. But then there's an offshore version as well. Okay. So Starlink in general will not save your life.
Will these slides be available for people to see the safety ones maybe? Because I think that's very important if everyone can sort of have a look at that and take what they want from that.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the Anglers chat WhatsApp group that I've created for everyone that registers.
Yeah.
We'll just finish off. We'll run through the briefing notes.
Just quick, guys. Sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
John, on that, I heard both these guys think I was involved with it a little bit. And the one thing that I've almost sunk as well, without realising, and that's what happens. You don't realise you're sinking, and then you're sinking, and it happens so quick because the boat's full of water.
Guys,
So my one thing I would say 110% is a high water alarm. You can get a float switch and a horn. It's going to cost less than $100. It's going to take less than 10 minutes to install. I reckon my 13-year-old kid over here he could do it, no worries.
It's probably better than you.
It's probably better than me, and it's easy, you know. And then if you got water in your boat, like more than what you say, you can put your high water alarm this high, and you're only half sinking, not fully sinking. It goes off. You'll find out. So in my opinion, that should be like mandatory for every boat that goes 10 miles offshore. They should have that. You don't put the bungs in, right? You're going to find out before you even leave the fucking boat ramp. You know, it's a no-brainer. It really is. And also, I think Pet's going to cover on it because we're sort of going over some ground. Anyone who registers for the comp, there's a WhatsApp page. Again, Pet's going to touch on it. All this information. Brad, if you've got something awesome to say about safety, you can bring it up in that. The whole point of that WhatsApp page is to share information, safety, fishing techniques, when you're going fishing, etc.
Find someone to fish with.
Find someone to fish with, all that, but you have to register for the comp first before you
get access.
But,
let's just say I registered for the comp, but my mate's in the comp as well, and he doesn't have a decky, and I don't have a decky, and I go on his comp. Can I be a skipper and go to his boat?
Mate, it doesn't matter that. So it's kind of question asked later. It's not important right now. I'll answer that one later. So you guys get in the briefing.
All right, we'll get through the briefing notes.
The briefing notes what we're here for, really.
Yeah, trophies and prizes. I'm sure you've looked through and seen what's available there. They have sort of jackpotted since what was originally released. Had a few more sponsors come on, which is nice and a bit better for everyone. Point scoring, it's pretty standard, same as all game fishing comps really that we've run. If you catch a swordfish, the calculation is the weight of the fish times 150 divided by line class plus 500 bonus points. Example, 156 kilo swordfish divided by 37 equals 632 points plus 500. For a swordfish tagged, you'll get 33,000 points divided by line class plus 500 points bonus. Example, 33,000 divided by 37 plus 500, 1390 points. For the other species categories, the wahoos, the tunas, it's just weight times 100, not 150.
When you say photo evidence, that's obviously with the length, the measure playing alongside it.
There's a tag.
For a tagged fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, for a tagged fish.
Are we measuring alongside it? Okay.
If you get a photo or video and you can see you've docked that fish, that's good enough.
Sorry, I wasn't really going to measure alongside.
No. Yeah, we understand that you might not always get that opportunity.
Cool.
Tag fish don't.
Where's the photo's really close.
Sorry?
How do I actually enter the car?
Online on the PGFC website.
It's all right.
Clash in the Canyon.
Hold up.
Look there. Angling rules. This tournament will be fished under GFAA rules and PGFC rules. All competing anglers must conversant with these rules. Competitors are requested to ensure they pay attention to the leader and double lengths and wind on leaders, allowing enough buffer for stretch when fighting a fish. All competitors must be affiliated with a WAGFA/GAA club. This includes everyone involved in the capture: skipper, wireman, rodman. If you want to find these rules, as Scotty's mentioned plenty of times, the GFAA app. We also have journals. We've already touched on the electric drills plenty of times, so I won't go into that. The fishing area, you got 170 miles from Port of Fremantle out the front here, North Mole. I've got the exclusion marks in Latin longs provided in the notes. I think you can almost get up to Dongra as you furthest north, the way it works, and the south is Augusta. It's recommended that you inform the Swordfish WhatsApp group of your intentions to fish the following day. This helps with your safety and smoother weighing of fish caught. You can also use this group to find crew, post captures, etc. As radio communications haven't been great out in the canyon of late, it's recommended that boats heading out wide have some other form of communications, which Johno has touched on just previously. Weighings and tagging. All fish being weighed or tagged in this competition must be on a minimum of 15 kilo tackle. Don't go catch a sword on 15. Minimum requirements for point scoring. Fish weighed. All fish captures must be recorded on a fully complete WAGFA affiliated club capture form. For example, PGFC, we've got our books. We've got the cards as well. Close-up weight on scale and certification. That's the one. Paperwork of scale. All equipment used in the capture, including gaffs, flying gaffs, ropes, laid out clearly next to a tape measure. 16 metres of mainline, leader and rigged used in capture. Line and rig to be checked and measured by a weighmaster of a WAGFA affiliated club. Yeah, so Scotty for PGFC, I think it's Phil for Freo Sailing Club. I think Brian. Yeah, that's all. It's all there. Yeah.
Clarify it all.
Yep. In an instance where a WAGFA affiliated weighmaster or committee member cannot be in attendance of the weighing of a fish, the fish must still be weighed on certified scales with a witness present. Witness cannot be fishing on the same vessel or be from the same household as anyone involved in the capture of the fish. Witness must sign and provide contact details, blah, blah, blah. That's pretty standard stuff.
Do they have to be in the club?
No, the witness can be
Anyone, yeah.
Grandma can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, just as long as they're not in the same house. Yeah.
Grandma doesn't mind.
That rule's pretty much made so if I catch a fish, I can't weigh it myself. Yeah, yeah.
We're just trying to stick to the rules of GFAA and WAGFA, etc. It's all pretty standard stuff. Obviously, just opening it up over 3 months is hard to get the right people there at that time.
Minimum requirements for a capture tagged fish to be sent to a PGFC weighmaster, which is Scotty. Capture tag details to be posted to PGFC weighmaster within 7 days of capture. Photos of capture tag details can be emailed. Tackle used must be provided to weighmaster or posted within 7 days.
So Paco, that's obviously the however many first metres of line.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yep.
whole combo.
Yep. So what is it, about 7 metres then? Because your rig's about 9.
7 metres, yeah.
Yep. And your flying out, yeah. Be aware, the reuse of same tackle or after tagging or capturing a fish and its subsequent loss will render your fish ineligible and no points will be awarded. So if you catch a fish on a rig and you want to use that rig again, probably don't do it. Just make a new rig and put that one aside. If you want to try catch another one straight after.
Really?
Yep.
All right. Sorry.
Hook and leader.
Yeah.
It's only a hook and leader.
Yeah.
That's my lucky hook.
You've had so many questions.
So this might be a big one. I feel like over the next 3 months, it's a good chance the state records are going to get beaten. If the fish is being weighed, if the fish being weighed is a potential record, 16 metres of mainline together with the entire terminal tackle must be presented. The rig, the line must be presented in one piece, and the actual rig used in the capture of the fish. Standard recorder procedure thereafter. Skip that.
Skip that.
Skip that. Skip that. Skip that. Entry fees, just quickly. Yeah, entry fees for the comp, $75 to be an angler, $150 per boat, which must consist of 2 anglers. Say if I register for the comp, I register my boat, send and bend, register it with Johno, for example. Say Scotty asked us to come out fish that day, we're registered to the comp, we can go fish on Scotty's boat as an angler. There's no issues there, that's fine, that's encouraged.
But if I get my team, can I bring someone on like 5 days later? Cool. So as long as I've got my boat registered with
No,
one
they
guy.
got to be registered for them
Yeah, I
to
get that.
participate in the
PGF,
cap.
see?
No, they got to
Anyone.
be registered to participate in the capture.
Okay, so okay.
$75. But does the boat have to be registered? It
Yeah,
does.
yeah, the boat's got to be registered.
As well. So
Yeah.
that's probably the main one
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Anyone can fish anywhere, $75. But the boat has to be registered on the books prior to going fishing.
Yeah.
That was like yesterday or today or something.
Whatever.
Yep. So that's all good.
Sorry, lads, just one more
About
question
15 now.
about that. If someone's not a member of PGSC or Fremantle Sailing Club, do they have to join either of those clubs?
Can they do it?
They've got to be WAG for affiliated. So
so
Exmouth, Naturalist, anywhere.
What about nothing?
You have to become a member somewhere.
Is that after the fact? Is that okay?
It has to be before you fish.
Okay, copy. Yeah.
So, Fremantle Sailing Club, PGC, they're easy. You know, there's QR codes there.
When you say before you fish, before you register?
Day before.
Before you go out in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So you have to become a member first, and then you register second, and then you go fishing.
Yeah, you can't go fishing by yourself. You need 2 people on board that are registered to the comp. So, Jason Webb, don't go by yourself. I think that's pretty much it. The presentation for this comp will be, where is it? The 23rd, 6 p.m.
The simple thing is, if you're a skipper boat owner here, recommend you register your boat tonight or very soon. Sort your crew out later. You don't know who's going to be available on their swings or rosters or whatever it is or weather in the coming 3 months. So they can pay up to $75 a day or two before they start
I got
fishing.
told I had an hour to go 5 hours ago.
I didn't tell you that.
No, it was actually when I actually clicked on it. It said you had an hour to go.
Oh, that's just a countdown.
Yeah, it's just a computer.
Let's just get me to click it.
But yeah, don't take that away. Boat owners, skippers, register quickly. Crew you can sort out later.